Marie has pointed out, we are in chapter 4, verse 32. Thank you so much, Marie. So let's see where oh, that's right. We were reading about these very elaborate yoga processes and discussing the contrast in the practice of bhakti, how accessible and simple from one perspective, yet simultaneously profound the bhakti practice is, which, causes some persons to undermine the practice and to think it is only for ignorant or lazy persons, But actually, and this is what, and now we can go into the fine print, right? This is what Marie was mentioning last week, that it's not so simple to be simple, right? This is what is very funny, that, okay, there's not an emphasis put on like strenuous physical practices, austerities. There's not great intellectual power that's required. And it is just a simple offering of the heart, right? Right. That is one way we can promote this, right? This is one way we can push this. When it's true, it is true. However, to simply offer the heart is not so easy. There's a verse in the Puranas somewhere that compares the ego to a mountain. These layers of egos like mountain peaks. Ahankara nivrittanam keshavo nahi durga ahankara yutanam hi madhye parvata rasaya. That's for one who is free from the ahankara, the false ego. Keshavo nahi durga. The Lord, he is not far. He is very close, But for one who has his ahankara yutanam hi, madhye parvat is a mountain. For one who has this false ego, false conception of self, false conception of the environment, it is as if there is a great mountain pass between them and the Lord. So from one angle, it is the most simple of the simple, but from another angle, it is the most difficult to let go of ego, right? Somebody may sign up for the most difficult, dangerous endeavors in this world, but if you ask them to simply be humble, they may not be able to do that. That may be more difficult than climbing 1,000 mountain peaks, or running a 5,000 kilometer race or whatever, but to simply be humble, to let go of one's ego, to give honor to others, in terms of consciousness, there are so many mountain passes that are being crossed, right? and I think I was mentioning this recently, perhaps in another meeting, but I like so much this quote of John Milton, the British English writer. Srila Sridhar Maharaj quotes him, where he says in one place, "Peace hath her victories, no less renowned than war." Peace hath her victories, no less renowned than war. Because normally we conceive of a victory as when you're in a very apparent, powerful way, right? You're coming forward, you've made a show of power, a show of strength, and you've defeated somebody else. You're being awarded the medal or whatever it is, the land or whatever it is, and in a very apparent way, you will be acknowledged as the victor, right? Because you have achieved, you have conquered in an aggressive and very apparent way. But what about withdrawing? What about accepting defeat in a humble manner? That is another type of victory. What about avoiding quarrel? What about avoiding war? Right? On a more subtle plane, there's also victory there. How many of these things go on behind closed doors that have avoided, World War III? That's also a victory. Yeah. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj was speaking in regards to these principles of humility, tolerance, and respect, Trinada, peace, and Nichena. So that is also a type of victory. It's not less noble, it is not less praiseworthy than to be a powerful conqueror in this world. Rather, we consider it to be more so. So this is the catch, right? This is the caveat. That yes, it is simple. It is for everyone. Doesn't require any special ability, but it requires letting go of the ego, letting go of the false ego. And that is the tricky part, That is the tricky part. Surrender. It is the most powerful thing that one can do. Most powerful. Why? Because ultimately it leads one to capture the infinite. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, one of our gurus, he says in one place that Krishna, the Lord, is the personal property of his devotees. He's the personal property of his devotees. So what more of a position of power is that? What more of a position of power is that? Ye prajaso jita jito piyasi taistri lokyam. Who is normally considered to be ajita, unconquerable, will become jita, conquered. These are two names for Krishna. Ajita Krishna, and we have in our community, we have devotees with these names. Ajita Krishna means unconquerable Krishna, and then Jita Krishna. We have a very dear brother in Australia I like very much. His name is Jita Krishna. Means Krishna who's conquered. Conquered how and what way? By the love of his devotees. By the love of his devotees. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he also commented, this is where this is where it can be ascertained that someone is in possession of the highest type of devotion, the highest type of love, that they have the infinites under their thumb, that they can subdue the Supreme Lord. This is the ultimate characteristic of pure devotion. In the scripture Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Rupa Goswami, he outlines the 6 principal characteristics of devotion. Kleshagni removes all suffering, all klesh. Shubhada is the bestower of all goodness, all auspiciousness. Moksha laguta, it makes the aspiration for moksha, for liberation, to appear very inconsequential, very insignificant, very unimportant. And the bestower, Sanjananda Visheshatma, it is the bestower of the greatest joy, the greatest bliss. Then what, I'm missing one here. But then the final one is Shri Krishna Karshini Chasa, that it will be the attractor, the subjugator of Krishna, the supreme absolute, supreme infinite. In the scripture Brahma Samhita, there's one verse which I've been thinking about a lot recently. Advaitam, it's like highlighting this contrast. Advaitam achyutam anadim ananta rupam adyam purana purusham navayovanancha vedeshu dorlabam adorlabam atma bhakto govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Saying that, it's describing the characteristics of this absolute, almighty, infinite, supreme Lord, that he is of an absolute nature. He is infallible. He has no origin. He is the origin of all. He is the oldest entity, living entity. He is also ever youthful at the same time. And then the best line, Vedeshu Dorlabam Adorlabam Atma Bhakto, who he is difficult to achieve through the Vedas. Vede Dorlaba. Dorlaba means rare or difficult. However, Adorlabam Atma Bhakto, he is very easy to attain through devotion. through love, through heart. Very easy, very simple to attain in that way. So, Tadure tadvanti ke. This is an expression in the Upanishads. Tadur means very far and very near at the same time. Very simple, but very difficult at the same time. Srila Sridhar Maharaj made one comment once that we can put in the entrance of our temples, welcome, no entrance. It is very close and very simple because it is pertaining to our innate nature. It is who we are. However, it is difficult, it is far because we've taken ourselves far away. We've dragged ourselves far away from that. So both of these sides are there. Okay, well, we can carry on with our reading and welcome several others who've joined us. Prema Sindhu Prabhu, our senior in South Africa, always honored to have you, Prabhu. Chandra Jyoti from Brazil has also joined us, and Jayadev also joined us. Kanaka Lata, of course, is here. Okay, so it was 42, is that where we were? Is that what we said? 32, sorry. Okay. Magyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshor Militanyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Evam Bahu Vidayagya Vitata Brahmano Mukhe Karma Janviditan Sarvam Evam Gyatva Vimokshase. Chintamani, what do you think? Should we maybe chant the verse twice and I chant it first and everyone follow the second time? What do you think? I think that's a good idea. Oh, your connection. Oh, we can't hear you. Oh. We can't hear you at all.
I'd like everyone to do exercise.
For the record, she stopped talking like a minute ago, and it's just
really?
still pixelate. Yeah, we're watching it pixelate in.
Okay, she's saying whenever I decide. Okay, well, I saw Jason put a thumbs up. So I'll go with that. So feel free to unmute if you'd like. And it doesn't work so well with singing, but I think with like reading like this, chanting, it should be a little better. So as you like, you can unmute or mute as you prefer. So I'll chant first, and then everyone feel free to chant the second time if you would like. So 32. Evam bahu vidayagya itata brahmano mukhe karma janviditam sarvan evam gyatva vimokshase. Evam bahu vidayagya itata brahmano mukhe karma janviditam sarvan evam gyatva vimokshase. Shreyan Javyamayad Yagyaj Jnana Yagya Parantapa Sarvam Karma Kilam Karta Jnane Pari Samapyate. Javyamayad Yagyaj Jnana Yagya Parantapa Sarvam Karma Kilam Karta Jnane Pari Samapyate. Okay, it's not working so well because the background noise is too strong. So maybe better if you mute. But we can still do it twice, but I think we'll better if you muted, yeah. So actually, you know what? My bad. We did read we did also read and discuss a little this verse last week, because this is an important line here, and it's marking a shift here in Bhagavad-gita. Sarvam karma kilam parta jnane parisamapyate. So this is marking a shift between karma yoga and jnana yoga. It is acknowledging the fruit of well-performed karma yoga, right? So what is karma yoga, right? What is the principle of karma yoga? Selfless action, right? Selfless duty. And one doesn't even need to have any particular religious conception, God, theistic conception, just living a life of selfless duty. This is the principle of the Varnashrama system also. And the idea is that through living in this selfless spirit, one's consciousness will naturally be cleansed, because we are ignoring all the random whimsical desires that we have, all these artificial filters which are laying over our consciousness. We're ignoring those and we're acting according to duty. Then those filters will start to dissipate because we're not reinforcing them, right? So this purification will start to naturally take place. And then what will be the fruit of that? Because of this clearing of the consciousness, then there will naturally be this awakenment of spiritual knowledge, spiritual awareness. We will begin to feel and perceive this more subtle plane of life. We will begin to feel in a more pronounced way the Atma, the soul within. We will feel the presence of a higher being, because we're in a cleaner, our consciousness has been purified. We are in a cleaner platform, more clear platform. Then we can perceive this more subtle layer of life. And we will be able to enter into more serious cultivation of spiritual understanding, spiritual principles. So, sarvam karma kilam parta jnane parisamapyate. This is the fulfillment of all karma, jnana, knowledge. And then I also brought up last week, as I recall, that this is something to bear in mind as we're going through Bhagavad-gita always, right? That it can be read on two levels. We can read Bhagavad-gita in the sequence, right? These different stages: karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, bhakti yoga. We can read in this sequential, step-by-step type of way, but we can also appreciate at every step how different principles, regardless of what type of yoga they are particularly referring to, we can see how in a broader sense they're also applicable in bhakti, right? In the practice of devotion. So for example, here, sarvam karma kilam parta jnane parisamapyate. This is speaking in the sequence of a transition between karma yoga, jnana yoga, the yoga of action and the yoga of knowledge. But we can also apply this principle in the practice of bhakti, and our Gurudev would do so. The idea that it is through sacrifice, through dedication, through service, through self-offering, that we will attract divine grace, that revelation will come to us. Why? Because we're culturing a necessity, spiritual knowledge, devotion. When I'm saying spiritual knowledge, I mean particularly in the line of bhakti, in the line of devotion, because it's the visa, right? We're talking about getting a visa. That's something that we don't necessarily have a right to. We have a right to a passport, right? Our gurus give this analogy. We have a right to a passport, but we don't necessarily have a right to a visa. Visa is granted on grace, right? And it is granted, all rights reserved on the other side, right? So revelation of that higher plane, that's granted as a matter of grace. And we need to show that we need it, that there's actual necessity for that in our hearts. We are in the culture of cultivating necessity, cultivating lolyam, hunger. Right? It's like Srila Sridhar Maharaj, she gives that analogy of a new employee, right? If they've just been newly hired and they want the keys to everything, they want to know where everything is, and they want the keys to every room, and I don't know where all the money is, all the files are, everything. If the employee comes and asks that on the first day, the employer is going to be highly suspicious, right? So it's like on a need, given on a need to know basis, right? All this information will be given on a need to know basis. So it is the same thing when we are approaching that higher plane, that they want to see that we're not taking this just to sit on it or to use it for our own benefit, for our own gain, or we're just curious, like what's the use of that? Oh, well, I just, kind of interested, I've been wondering, like, well, we got better things to do with our time, They want to see you're dying for it. They want to see that you're hungry for it, that you want it. You can't live without it. That's what they're looking for. Because that means you appreciate how valuable it is. So how do we do that? How do we culture that? By giving ourselves, by offering ourselves, by showing we want to act, we want to live in the interest of that higher plane. That is what will attract them, their grace, and that is what will attract revelation. Revelation comes according to necessity. There's that expression, necessity is the mother of invention, right? My twist on that is necessity is the mother of revelation. Revelation will come according to our heart's necessity for it. So this same principle, through sacrifice, through dedication, through self-giving, spiritual knowledge will be revealed to us, will descend. Spiritual awakenment or devotional awakenment, will arise within us. So sarvam karma akilam parta jnane parisam. And the traditional Vedic system really reflected this, in the context of an institution, things change a little bit, right? Because an institution is trying to cater to large numbers of persons, right? And that's okay, because Saris Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he established that as the method in this age for promoting Krishna consciousness, because he wants to touch the hearts of the maximum number of persons. He was creating a package, he was creating a brand, a reliable brand, so as to be able to connect with the maximum persons possible. However, so that's fine, right? That's how we all got on the boat, right? We're very grateful for that. However, we can also appreciate what the traditional Vedic model was of conveying instruction. Our Guru and our Gurudev spoke about this, that the disciple will live with the Guru, in an ashram, and the disciple will serve the Guru, and in practical services. And there's the example is given of Krishna himself, right? When his Guru is Sandipani Muni, right? And he's going and doing all kinds of humble services, collecting firewood, And so this is the traditional model, that the disciple, the seeker, is engaging in practical services to assist their guru, to assist their teacher. And then the guru, being pleased in response to that, is bestowing grace, bestowing instruction, bestowing teaching. And in this type of loving exchange, this very kind of like natural, organic way, then individuals are progressing, making advancement. in their spiritual life. That is the more natural way of going about it. That reflects what the real transaction is, the real spiritual transaction, how it takes place. So although in an institution, the format's a little different, we all still have that opportunity, to try to offer ourselves in service, giving, and learning and hearing, and that type of spirit, Sevan Muke hi Jiva Dao, it is according to our service, and that mood of service is what will attract that higher to descend and to reveal itself to us. That's what it's all about. That's the essence. Okay. So I think that's actually where maybe we left off. And then going on to 34. So this is also a very famous verse. Many of you are familiar with this verse, no doubt. One of the most famous verses in Bhagavad-gita. And welcome also Krishna and Johnny Didi and Dana, who joined us, and Lynn. I can't remember if I said hello yet. Happy you can all be here with us today. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya uparekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya uparekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. You will be able to attain knowledge by satisfying the Divine Master with submission, relevant inquiry, and sincere service. That's so funny. The link there. I didn't even make that connection. But what I was just talking about is actually being said in the next verse. Relevant inquiry, that's always a good sign. Okay, I'm on track, Relevant inquiry and sincere service. The enlightened souls who are learned in scriptural knowledge and endowed with direct realization of the supreme absolute truth will impart divine knowledge to you. So this verse 34, it's one of the most famous verses of Bhagavad-gita. I was talking with one of my very good friends, Isha Bandhu Prabhu, the other day in Australia, and he mentioned like 2 verses of Bhagavad-gita. Like if I only need like 2 verses, I choose this one, and then Sarva Dharmam Prityaja, the conclusion of Bhagavad-gita. So very important verse and very well known. Why? Because it's describing the characteristics of the true. Oh, Jason asking for Sevan Muke. Okay, yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I love that Jason. He's really into shlokas. For those of you who don't know Jason, he did join our Tuesday meeting as well, but maybe some of you weren't there. He's our special VIP guest today. He's a professor of religious studies at Chico State University, California, and he's, as he told me, officially Krishna curious, and he's very very well acquainted with our teachings, and he likes Sanskrit a lot, which is cool, which is very cool. So yeah, I would love to, because it's actually a very important verse. We can talk about it now. It's related here. So it's a verse. Is it originally Rupa Goswami? Maybe Chinmoy Prabhu can say. It's a verse that Rupa Goswami presents. And I believe originally Rupa Goswami, Chinmoy's nodding his head, perhaps in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is making this very important point that our material senses cannot approach divinity. Oh, thank you, Chinmoy Prabhu. He shared the Sanskrit here. So making this the indriya means senses, right? So the indriya they are not, they are outside the jurisdiction of that which is divine. Shri Krishna Nam Adi. So Krishna's name, when you have an Adi, we were discussing this recently somewhere else, this Adi, when you see an Adi there, it means like beginning with, so it's indicating a list, like etc. So Nam means Nam, Rupa, Guna, Lila. Krishna's name, his form, his qualities, his pastimes, they are all beyond the jurisdiction of our sensory faculties. So then what do? we're being told here, our tongue cannot chant Krishna's name, our eyes cannot see Krishna's form, our ears cannot also hear Krishna, and so on. So then where do we go from there? Like, it's like, come on, like no fair here. Then we're given the answer in the next line, Sevan mukehi jivada swayam eva spurchada. So this mukata, Sevan mukata, is referring to an attitude, a mood of seva, the mood of service, the mood of spirit of dedication will attract his name to jiva. Jiva is referring to the tongue. And here ado, adi again. So that name will appear on the tongue, that form will appear to our eyes, and so on. Swayam, himself. Spurat is referring to like manifesting, appearing, awakening. So according to our spirit of dedication, that divine form will choose to descend to reveal himself. So then it's not a matter of us chanting that name so much as being chanted. It's happening the other way around, that it is described in one prayer of Thakur Bhakti Vinod, that the name of Krishna will dance upon our tongue, and his dancing upon our tongue will cause our tongue to vibrate, and then he will appear in the plane of sound. So it's a very important verse, and I'm glad you picked that out. And very, very often quoted by our gurus. Okay, so going back here, and this is all related. So why is this verse so significant, this verse 34 that we're looking at? Because it's describing two important things. One, what are the characteristics, what are the qualities of the sincere student, the sincere disciple, the sincere seeker of truth? What qualities should they have? And there are three in particular mentioned. And also, what are the qualities of the bona fide spiritual master, the bona fide guru, the bona fide guide? These two things are so very, very helpful. And you'll see particularly in the book Sri Guru and His Grace, prepared from the talks of Sridhar Maharaj, this verse is cited multiple occasions. So then let's go in a little deeper. What are these qualities? So tad vidi, tad here is that, vidi, knowledge. So this knowledge that I've spoken of, right? How can it be obtained? And these three qualities are mentioned. Pranipatena, pariprashnena, and sevaya. Pranipat is referring to a mood of surrender. That we don't want to take that higher knowledge for our own lower purpose or for our own gain, as we were discussing this idea just now. But we want to give ourselves to that, and we will leave behind everything in this world. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we will give up our engagement with the world. That's not the idea, but rather that we are no longer seeking our prospect in the world. We no longer find anything of any meaning in the world. So we are coming wholeheartedly to the feet of Guru, giving up everything that the world has to offer to us. We are no longer seeking our gain, although we still have to be practical, engage with the world, but we are not running after all the different phantasmagoria that this world has to offer. So we're coming with this mood of surrender. And pariprashnena means, prashna is referring to inquiry, question. And this padi is a prefix here. So it's indicating like not just random questioning, but sincere, relevant, meaningful inquiry, not just random whimsical curiosity, or what can also be the case, a mood of arrogance, right? That we want to know everything, you know, so that we can be better than others, or we can feel that pride within ourselves that we know, or even just a dry spirit of knowing for the sake of knowing. But no, again, going back to what you were saying earlier, that necessity, there's some purpose. There's some practical, real need for this query. And there's that famous occasion when Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he told someone, and generally Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he's very patient. We hear these recordings from the 80s of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and sometimes you're cringing, right? Like hearing some of the questions that he's being asked, like some of them like very, very technical, or going into very kind of fine, intimate details, about the nature of Krishna's Leela. And people are asking this like with no feeling of sensitivity, just like awkwardly asking unnecessary questions. And for the most part, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is so patient, so patient. And then sometimes you'll hear him kind of hinting, like on one occasion he says something like, he answered all these like complicated questions, very theoretical questions, and then he's patiently answering. Then at the end, he says something like, these things are all very, very far beyond us, and he said, and it's only to try to encourage faith in others that we have the audacity to go into this discussion now, or something like that, like indicating it's very audacious to enter into all this discussion, but in order to encourage your faith, you want to know this, then I'm telling you something. But there's one occasion when he lost his patience, or rather you could say for instruction, he said, and Madhusudan Maharaj was there actually on that occasion, as I recall. He said, I am not a question and answer booth. No, I am not a question and answer booth. That's not what this is. There should be some necessity, behind this. Either because because you want to, as we're coming to on the third point, sevaya, the mood of service, self-giving, you want to improve your service. Or it may also be, Srila Sridhar Maharaj just said, that in order to do away with doubts, to make our faith stronger, if we have some genuine doubts, then we need to have some explanation to strengthen our faith. Or it may also be that one is in the role of a preacher, who is representing. And so there may be some points that they need to explain to others. And so then they may make inquiry on these things. So sincere, relevant inquiry with necessity. Okay, and then the final point, sevaya, the mood of, this is the real key, mood of service, that we want to serve that higher plane. This is how the visa will be granted, that we are proving to the authorities of that plane that we are entering in their interest. We're not coming as a spy, or as a terrorist, or as a, in a mood of exploiting the resources or anything like that, But we are coming because we want to make a positive contribution. We want to support the economy, we want to support the culture and all these things, right? So it is the same thing. It is common sense. It is very practical. It is very simple to understand. Approaching a higher plane means we must approach in the interest of that higher plane. If we want to approach a higher being, we must approach in a mood of submission. If we want to be a master, we can only contact a lower plane by necessity. And if we want to approach a higher plane, it must be in a mood of humble submission. It is common sense. So we can, so the more we have this mood of humility, submission, surrender, the more we will naturally be able to associate with a higher plane, with higher thought, higher experience, divine experience. And then also in this verse, the characteristics of the bona fide guru, teacher, are described. Jnaninas and tattvadarshina. Jnaninas means that they are knowledgeable. You know, they have knowledge of the scripture, they have knowledge of the teachings, and they are well able to instruct others in that. And then the second, tattvadarshina. Darshan, they're seeing tattva, that truth. It's not just a theoretical understanding, but they're actually having some reciprocation with the higher plane. They're having the darshan of that higher plane. They're having some perception of that higher plane, some experience, some reciprocation with the higher plane. It's something living and dynamic and fresh. And the degree of that, of course, will depend upon the particular adhikar, particular caliber of the guru, but there will be something living and fresh, at least there. They are engaging with that higher plane. Does anyone want to add any comments or pose any questions at this point? We still have a little time. We can continue with a few more verses. Chinmoy Prabhu, you want to add anything?
Jason.
Jason just raised his hand.
I just wanted to comment and say, the thing that you just said about only being able to, if you want to be a master, you're going to have to engage with lower stuff, totally vibed with me. I think I used to not be a theist because I thought, oh gosh, that's so degrading. And I don't want to be somebody's subject. I want to be the sovereign of my own world. And over time, I realized I'm not sovereign of anything. So that existence would not be very fulfilling, since I'm definitely somebody else's subject. Maybe I should find out who that is and then get with it. I remember a couple weeks ago on YouTube, I heard you say something like, there are certain hard truths, and when you accept them, things get much simpler. And my heart was like going, yeah!
Thank you so much for sharing that, Jason. And we feel privileged to be a part of your journey. I see Radhana Rupini's also raised her hand.
Mata, in the beginning of the class, you spoke about ego, and we talked about surrender and the power of surrender. And in Srila Sridhar Maharaj's book, Sri Guru and His Grace, there's a part there that talks about emptying yourself of all that ego so that you can get the divine can come in,
Jai, yes. When we are already full with something, then we cannot receive, right?
Right. And when Srila Prabhupada was, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami was on his way here on the Jaladuta, I'm trying to remember, I think it was a poem he wrote that he said, if you want to make me, if you want me to be your puppet, let me dance, let me dance. And I think at that point in time, if there was at all anything left, it was totally emptied out. So that, Nityananda could, because he was shocked. But also within our own minute lives, we read so much knowledge, and we get, like, especially I love the Bhagavad-gita because I feel like it's the owner's manual for the human being. So we hear all these wonderful things, but to hear is like, it's almost like sometimes I feel like it's so much sense gratification. It's like, it's the best thing, but to practice is something else. And sometimes we'll find ourselves in situations like, I found myself in a situation just recently where I wrote something down for Prabhupada's appearance day, and I read it. And then at Prasadam, when I was sitting next to a god sister of mine, she was speaking, somebody came up and she started speaking to that person and said, "Oh, Prabhu, what you said was so wonderful and heartfelt because you didn't write it down." And I just felt like, thank you, Krishna, for this opportunity to shut up and just understand that, we have to have opportunities to practice. Like the tongue is is the loosest muscle in the body, and it's so easy just to like defend ourselves, and our ego gets in the way, and so it's like, it's so nice to have those opportunities in life that are difficult so that we can practice.
That's very beautiful perspective. Very beautiful. It's true. It's true. There's one letter, you reminded me, one letter of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. One of his disciples wrote complaining about some particular situation, and Saraswati Thakur responded, "When Krishna has given you the opportunity to practice tolerance, and you should take that opportunity, because it is, it is, truly is. That is how we will grow and progress." Well, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Didi. And anyone else want to say anything? Kanaka Lata, were you about to say something?
Yes, I would like to make a question, but Radhana is her name, who talks right now. I think she already gave me the answer. I would
really?
like to, yes, because my big doubt, I think a lot, because in day by day working, we have to work in order to pay all the bills, all the things. It's difficult to find a way to be in touch with the Krishna concept, the Gita, all the other things. We in the middle of the wash machine, and we go through all the things, and we need something to catch us in the middle of this waves, all these kind of things. But I think the words that she said right now, the ego, I think we have to, if I understood, we have to let our ego out from us, then we have space to bring the words, to bring the Krishna consciousness. I think something like this, if I understood.
Yes, very nice, very nice. Yeah, another point is that, being in these situations where we are separated, right? They can actually enhance our cultivation, because it makes us appreciate the value of it more, right? When we feel that we don't have it, we're being taken away from it, that everything around us is distracting us, then, Mahaprabhu, he gives the analogy of having a paramour, a secret lover, right? The whole environment is against you. And it's all just intensifying your attachment to your secret, lover. It's becoming more and more intense in your heart, because the whole environment is the whole environment is opposing. So, in many, in every situation, even that which is apparently undesirable, if we can see with a different perspective, we'll see how everything is ultimately favorable. Everything can enhance our Krishna consciousness. Feeling that, this is something Avadut Maharaj, one of our sannyasis, preachers, he said once, which I always remember, he said, feeling like it's over there and I'm here. He said, that's what Krishna consciousness is. It's not within my grasp. I want it. I see it over there. Others have it, and I don't have it. Others are doing it, and I'm not able to do it. This is one of the most healthy feelings that we can have in Krishna consciousness. So of course it can be very difficult and miserable at times, to be in this type of, having to face an environment which is very unfavorable. That is no doubt very difficult. But at the same time, it will intensify that fire within the heart, and it will increase our disinterest with the world, right? We will see, the bubble gets popped, right? Like, there's nothing there, there's nothing there. On, billboards, movies, advertising, they're all like promoting these ideals. So once you actually go out into that, it's all empty, the bubble gets popped, pretty soon. Marie's saying, Marie, you have COVID. Well, our best wishes. I found myself thanking the Lord because I got COVID this week. And then I was like, what is this? Who even am I? Wow, you've 25 years working in state hospitals, Radhana Rupini says. Wow, that gives you a lot to be grateful for, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Yes, it is all about finding that shift in consciousness, right? To see, where is my friend? How can I see that my friend is here? How can I see that the Lord is here for me? In every situation, that is the test of faith. Well, it's been a beautiful meeting. Does anyone want to add any final thoughts before we end? Ganga Leela, our one of our hostesses, you want to add any final thoughts, final prayer?
I don't know. I am feeling very quiet. I'm trying to mentally digest and absorb